Somehow there's one group of people on the internet that is so made fun of, but also I am so curious about, and that is, of course, the Disney adults. Hi y'all, SnarkyJay cosplay here. If you've been anywhere on the internet, basically ever, there is one group of people that consistently gets made fun of, that gets memed, and that quite often play themselves by posting the absolute nonsense they tend to post frequently. And that group, of course, has earned themselves the title of Disney adults. But recently, I've been thinking, and it's always dangerous when women start thinking, I'm kidding, I can make the jokes, it's my channel. Anyway, it's always dangerous when I start thinking, let me correct that. The thing that I started thinking about is mainly because I posted a vlog of my first and only solo day at Disney World a few weeks ago, and I had some people point out that I might actually be a Disney adult on account of the fact that I went dressed up like a princess in a Disney bound and I was wearing Mickey ears, and I really just thought, okay, if the boot fits and I have to wear it, like I wanna analyze to what extent I have to wear the boot. Is the boot like one of those big fishing galoshes, or is it like a stylish little cowboy boot? Like, how far are we talking here? So in this video, we're going to break down the reality of Disney adults, who they are, what the internet says they are, and whether or not they really deserve all the bullshit that they tend to get on the internet. And on top of all that, we're gonna go ahead and analyze whether I am or amn't a Disney adult. We'll get into that in just a minute. First, here's a word from this video's sponsor. Earlier this year, I made myself a promise that I was going to teach myself how to cook. And results have admittedly been pretty mixed, but at least I'm no longer afraid of the stove, so that's a plus. But even then, I still only knew a handful of recipes, and week to week, I found myself thinking, what the hell do I make today? Well, that is until today's sponsor, HelloFresh, came in. From quick prep meal kits to ready-made meals, HelloFresh offers fresh, ready-made meal kits to make a number of different crowd-pleasing recipes for just about any number of people you may have to feed at home. Best of all, the recipes are foolproof and flexible, delivered week after week, and I need them to be foolproof because I'm not great in the kitchen. HelloFresh has a super-sized menu, so there are options for even the pickiest eaters out there. My very first HelloFresh meal was this fantastic prosciutto-wrapped Swiss chicken. The recipe came with the ingredients I needed, fresh chicken, and the meal was to die for. It was restaurant quality. And just yesterday, I made this Greek shrimp over lemony spinach rice, and that was chef's kiss. I am absolutely in love with HelloFresh, and I hope you guys will be too. Whether you need ready-made options on the table in 3 minutes, or you have 30 to 45 minutes to prep a meal with one of their meal kits, HelloFresh really offers it all. Take advantage of the new HelloFresh by using my code SnarkyJHF for 10 free meals plus breakfast for life. 1 free meal per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box, new or returning subscribers only. Varies by plan. Sign up today. Click the link below or use my code SnarkyJHF at HelloFresh.com. So Urban Dictionary defines Disney adult as the following: a millennial adult with or without kids that can't stop talking about Disney, including the movies and the parks. Even if they do have kids, they're still way more obsessed with it than their kids would ever be. They probably engage in casual Disney bounding, we'll talk about that in a few, and visit the theme parks at least once a year. They are obsessed with everything Disney and probably have a Mickey Mouse bumper sticker and or tattoo. One of the most terrifyingly intense people you'll ever meet. All right, guys. I'm cringe, but I'm honest. And I'll tell you guys right now, I check off a lot of those boxes. I don't have children, but I do frequent the Disney parks more than once a year. I also engage in Disney bounding, which I will explain in a few minutes. I worked briefly as a party princess, so I know pretty much every major Disney song. So right now I know I'm putting up a lot of red flags. My entire channel is a red flag, but as far as the Disney thing goes, whole ton of red flags. But the thing about the definition that Urban Dictionary gives of Disney adult, and I think what the truth about Disney adult is that it goes way deeper than that. You might even say it goes under the sea. I'm so sorry. A Disney adult is probably somebody with a hidden Mickey. If you don't know about Disney World, they tend to put little Mickey Mouse icons all over the park and you get to find them. If a Disney adult has a hidden Mickey tattoo, you best believe it's not gonna be seen unless a cop conducts a body cavity search. They probably go to the theme park several times a week, and not only are they they there several times a week, but they know the ins and outs, they know the tips and tricks, they know the fun facts and trivia, and it's not enough that they know. They want you to know that they know, so that you too can be awash in the information of Disney trivia. They want you to be so impressed, and quite frankly, anytime anybody gives me too much Disney trivia at a time, I honestly start seeing TV snow. And Disney adults, for as much traveling as they tend to do, they wouldn't dream of going to Japan or Greece, a European vacation. They wouldn't dream of seeing the Maldives. Oh no! All of their interests and concerns are parked on swampland in the Disney bubble of hot and humid Central Florida. And look, some of the biggest examples of Disney adults that get published on the internet in different articles and stuff are annoying, like objectively annoying. I have never seen a castle that wasn't real and considered crying over it the way some people have when first laying eyes upon Cinderella's castle. I definitely didn't weep real tears when the parks finally reopened after COVID, and I definitely wouldn't dream of being weird and totally inappropriate with an underpaid 20-something-year-old costumed character in the parks just because it's my favorite character. So considering all of that, Disney adults are an incredibly easy target for internet bullshit. I would argue that nobody is safe from the internet anymore. Like, literally the most inoffensive, innocuous person is probably the subject of ridicule to somebody or multiple somebodies, but Disney adults basically have a target painted on their back. I think because on the one hand, their own social media works against them. They basically make content for other people that think like them, but unfortunately, it rarely ever stays just within them. And so these videos of these over-the-top reactions, these awkward Disney bounds, these weird character interactions, and these videos that go incredibly viral, if they stayed within the bubble of Disney adults, they'd probably all just celebrate each other and not bother anybody. But because these things tend to go so viral, it's that social media wildfire that really makes it easy for anybody and everybody to latch on and just dogpile on top of Disney adults. And there's also the thing where Disney is very much like a childhood brand, and I think a lot of people pride themselves on, you know, growing up. So if you feel like a real grown-up, but you see somebody running around in $45 Mickey ears eating a $6 churro, then you tend to be like, you f***ing clown, get a job. They probably do have a job. That's the only way they afforded the $8 churro. The whole Disney thing just looks so out of place to outsiders that it's really easy to mock them. Now let's talk about the hobbies, habits, and interests of the Disney adult. Yes, it seems obvious that interests include Disney, but there's so much more than that. Common practices for Disney adults include Disney bounding, which is kind of cosplay light. The major rule of any and every Disney park is that you cannot dress up over the age of 14. You'll confuse people, you'll misrepresent the brand and the characters, so you are not allowed to go in costume if you're over the age of 14. Disney bounding is basically just people finding creative ways around the whole you can't dress up here thing, and finding ways to represent characters that they like or identify with to go into the theme parks with. Then of course, the number one common practice for most Disney adults is the pilgrimage to the park or any one of the parks and vlogging at the parks. See, to the Disney adult, the theme park is in fact the Holy Land. They must make pilgrimage month after month, year after year, sometimes day after day. They must don their sensible Skechers and their soft spandex skirts, and they must wear the matching $40 Mickey ears, and they will go and consume $12 churros. They must fill their souls and empty their wallets in the House of Mouse. And usually the things that normal people bitch about when they go to Disney World, like I will never buy a bottle of water in Disney World without going, $4 for this shit. Can you believe this? I will never walk around Disney World without at one point finding the scorching concrete, because if you've never been, everything in Disney World is made of concrete, okay? And it's in Orlando, Central Florida. But somehow it feels like they've raised it where it's like 75 feet closer to the sun. And so the Florida sun just comes beating down onto that concrete and just reflects it, and your ankles are getting toasted. And the best part is if it rains, right? When it rains, the water falls from the sky and it falls down on asphalt and concrete, and the ground soaks it up. And when the sun comes back out, you and your parts are getting steamed to the high heavens. If you ever wonder what hell feels like, it feels just like Disney World during the summer. And then if everything being expensive as hell, and hot as hell, and the kids weren't screaming loud as hell, if everything wasn't hellish enough, then you'll go and wait in line 3 hours sometimes. And you'll stand there in line and there'll be some couple making out behind you and some kid keeps stepping on your shoe because he won't stop moving around. Mom and dad are minutes away from divorce. They loved each other when they got here this morning 3 hours ago, but by now they are over their marriage. And yet, the Disney adults love it. I somewhat recently saw a video from one of the Epcot festivals that happened earlier this year, and this particular creator was reviewing these different foods that you could get at this festival. And this guy genuinely seems like one of the nicest people on the planet, and I honestly felt envious of him and his viewpoint on life, because he walked in to this eatery in Epcot. He walks out with this cardboard tray holding some kind of like blueberry compote with ice cream or something. So they've put ice cream in cardboard, which is the first mistake. So he's gone into this new eatery and he comes out and he's like, yeah, there's like no seats in there, so I guess I'm gonna have to eat it outside, but it's such a nice day. I'm already like, dude, it's hot as f***. Why would you be okay with eating outside? That would be like strike number one. So he sits down and he's like, well, it looks like the ice cream is melting, so I'm gonna have to just go ahead and eat this first. And I'm thinking like, all right, there's a complaint coming here. Everybody hates melted ice cream. He's like, oh man, it's so nice and melty. It's like a little drink here. And he like sips out of the corner of it. And I'm thinking like, why aren't you outraged yet? Why aren't you angry? And so he sips it. He goes, oh man, it's so nice and melty. I guess I'm gonna have to eat this quick too, because it's kind of soaking through to the cardboard, but it's all so nice. Like, he's so optimistic about every inconvenience. And that is what these people are like. The Disney adults look at every annoying thing about the park with just this glittery overlook where everything is magical and beautiful and there's nothing worth complaining about. And to be honest, if I had half that level of optimism, my life would be so much better. While at the theme parks, they also really love to make lines, like I said, but they especially love lines for character meet and greets. Now, if you've ever stopped to ask yourself if Disney princesses are real, they're not. These are people in costumes. And 9 times out of 10, they're people in their 20s. When I did my Disney solo vlog, I ate at a really expensive restaurant in Magic Kingdom, and the princesses were obligated to go to each and every table. And I felt so awkward that women that were probably my age were having to play princesses and interact with me while I was the only one sitting at my table. I felt awkward. But these people don't see it that way. They fully commit to the bit of the Disney magic, and if you don't understand how much they commit to the bit, earlier last year, Epcot reintroduced some mascot they used to have, Figment the Purple Dragon, and they did a meet and greet in one of the buildings. The lines to meet Figment were so long that they literally almost went to the entrance of the park. These are real photos of how long the lines were to meet Figment. If I'm gonna be waiting 3 hours to meet anybody, I better be getting a foot rub and dinner out of it. Other than that, get the f out. But Disney adults, above all, they just really cherish, covet, and kind of worship any and all things that are Disney. They love collectibles. They'll collect popcorn buckets, 22 to 30 bucks a pop for some of these buckets. They even do Disney weddings and themed events. And if you've ever looked into a Disney wedding, I hope you haven't, but Disney weddings literally can cost from like $30,000 to $40,000 if you do it at one of the hotels to over $100,000, more than the average income of a US citizen. They will spend on a single wedding, presumably at a weird ass time because they have to be after hours if it's in a theme park. So you're probably getting married at like midnight to do it in front of Cinderella's castle, and they will drop hundreds of thousands of dollars just to say their I do's in the House of Mouse. And if that isn't weird enough, I found this lady who calls herself the Serial Bride and has had 5 Disney weddings. To clear something up, she's not been married 5 different times. She keeps getting married to the same guy, so it's kind of like a wedding vow renewal, but they're actually entire weddings and all of them are Disney related. What the f***? I'd love to have this level of disposable income. Holy sh**. And there's one more thing that Disney adults love to do. They love to lose it over the little things. I discovered that there's actually an entire fandom for Disney World trash cans. They're used to having to eat food over the trash cans because there's very little seating anywhere in Disney World. And so trash cans is a necessity. Sure, okay, they're like the vultures of the container world. I don't know. But a trash can? A trash can? I've never seen a trash can where I'm like, oh my god, you know what? I need a 3D printed version of this trash can. Or, better yet, I need collectible metal pins that I can put on all my belongings to celebrate my favorite trash can. Why do they like trash cans so much? The only time I've ever looked at a trash can more than once is if I had to throw something away and I did my whole Kobe thing and I tried to throw the trash at the trash can and it didn't hit. That would be when I looked at it again because my trash didn't go in and I wanted to make sure. And it happens all the time because I have terrible aim and no hand-eye coordination, but I'm not admiring trash cans. What is it about the trash can fandom of Disney World? What the fuck? I'm sorry. I don't understand the trash can people. I find all of this hilarious and a little admirable in the same way that I find that guy with his melting ice cream somehow being the light of his day, but we're gonna keep moving. To be honest, I don't even think the habit of becoming a Disney adult is their fault. Disney is brilliant. I actually read a paper by Sarah Spradley from California State Polytechnic University, Humboldt, and she did an entire paper about Disney adults, and what I think she said that was so important is that she basically highlighted Disney as a publisher of transmedia storytelling. And what she kind of means by that is that Disney has essentially created a brand that crosses all forms of media. You really can't escape the Disney princesses or the big Disney characters like Mickey Mouse, Donald, Minnie, all those guys, because it basically goes across cartoons, it goes across literature and like picture books, it goes across merchandise, theme parks, TV shows, branding on t-shirts, combinations with other brands like Marvel and Star Wars. And I mean, Disney has basically almost formed a monopoly over a lot of different media companies that they own. So it's really hard if you grew up with Disney and have any sort of nostalgia or love for it and the characters at all, to kind of go like, yeah, I'm over this now. It's all over the place and it's so easy to love. So when I think about Disney adults, especially from that lens, I think they're way less like overgrown children with too much money that just can't let go of their $17 churros. I honestly think they're people that are not so much victims of Disney, but just easily influenced by a company that knows exactly what it's doing. And I want to point out that there is kind of a double standard that exists about Disney adults in general. When you think about it, Star Wars, for instance, which I'm a huge part of, they have an entire elite costuming legion where you have to apply and get criticisms like, the zipper is visible, or he didn't have that shade of green on in Return of the Jedi. Like, it's that specific, and nobody really has the same disdain for them, except for Disney and Star Wars people themselves. But nobody really looks at the Star Wars guys the way they look at the Disney people. And I can say this because I have a lot of friends in the 501st. I love my friends in the 501st, and I also am part of the 501st, so I know exactly what kind of people we are. And I can tell you we're not that different. I mean, realistically, right? When a guy paints his face and puts on a big jersey with a number on it and a name to watch, I don't know, the football, and he goes to watch the football and he's yelling out there and he's screaming and he's losing his mind, and when he leaves the game victorious and full of beer and hot pretzels and overpriced hot dogs, and he shows up to work on Monday and he goes, hey, did you see the game? We were great out there. If he hasn't actually played the sport in 40 years, never played the sport, hasn't seen a football field a day in his life, or wasn't actively on that f***ing field winning the game, who is he to say we? And how is that all that different than the adult in the Mickey hat and the goofy shirt walking around to go buy a $23 churro? And you might be thinking, Jay, football is real. These are different. Okay, what effect does football really have on the real world in your real life? Unless you're actively betting your house on the game and about to lose your ass, it really doesn't do much, and neither does Disney. My point here is not to dog the Star Wars guys. It's not to dog the football football fans. I don't understand the sport, but that's just me. And it's also not to dog the Disney adults. My point is that cringe and annoying are very often in the eyes of the beholder. What is cool to you might be really annoying and cringe to somebody else. What is cringe and annoying to you might be really cool to somebody else. And of course, we're all entitled to share our opinions. Pretty much any and every fandom looks cringe and annoying from the outside. It's just what's within that community that's meant to be enjoyed by those people. I'm just pointing out that maybe it doesn't make that much sense to throw stones when you may or may not live in a glass house. All I'm saying. And so you might still be thinking, Jay, these people are cringe as f***. Why would they even bother? And I'd like to talk about why they would even bother. For one, as for all fandoms, I think there's definitely a sense of community and belonging that a lot of us seek. We love to read comic books, watch movies, dress up, whatever, and we like to be able to analyze and enjoy it with other people. Even the most introverted folks in the world will eventually want a little bit of human interaction. So I think there's a big part of that. It's just the natural human need to want to share things with other people and enjoy things in a community format. But I think with Disney, the really big themes for Disney adults are that aspect of nostalgia and comfort where you're looking for things from your childhood. So sometimes I think life gets a little hard, and I understand that there's still very much the mindset out there of like, yeah, well, pick yourself up by your bootstraps and go kick life in the ass. And I believe that. We should go kick life in the ass. But I think as human beings, it's okay sometimes to be a little bit vulnerable and just sit down and watch something that reminds you of an easier time in your life. I think if that makes your day a little bit easier and it's not hurting anybody or killing your productivity, you might as well. And I think a little deeper into that is that Disney and the parks especially really provide a sense of escapism for a lot of people. Since I went to the theme parks on some of my best days as a kid, my birthday, different celebrations, and they were always magical and the characters and all that stuff, my mind and my heart sort of hold a special place for those theme parks. So even though as an adult I can recognize all those annoying things I mentioned previously in this video, there's still a certain element of like, I'm in Disney World. Yes, this is nice. I can stop thinking about my job for a minute. I can enjoy the characters. I can enjoy the sights. I can go on a ride. And because it's so juvenile, because it's so wonderful, because a lot of those classics are so detached from the politics and agendas of not just modern Disney today, but the world we live in, it's kind of nice to be able to find those safe spaces of just wonder for a little while. So what's my point? I don't know that I necessarily defend Disney adults in and of themselves, purely because some of them do have a tendency to be obnoxious, do have a tendency to be attention-seeking, just like any other kind of influencer or anybody who posts anything online. Nobody that posts online does it for the love of the art. Everybody does it to be seen by other people. So is there a certain element of cringe and annoying and nonsense? Sure. But do I think that Disney adults are as bad as they are made out to be? No. A lot of my good friends are people that would be considered and do consider themselves Disney adults, and they're nice people. Their lives actually don't revolve around Disney. The more I think about it and the more people commented on that video asking me, like, you go to Disney for the first time on the channel and you have Mickey ears and a Jasmine outfit, like, what the f*** are you, a Disney adult? Maybe I am. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm just a lower level Disney adult. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that I think life is way too short to let the internet dictate what you can and can't find fun, as long as it's legal and you're not hurting anybody or doing anything weird. Cringe is very much in the eye of the beholder. So if you're a Disney person, if you're a Star Wars person, you're a football person, whatever, somebody's always gonna find you f***ing annoying. But you know what? There's probably another few people who think just like you that you can enjoy this with. Be cringe, but be free. A lot of the things that I like are still being considered cringe. Sometimes I run into people that I knew like from school, from way before I was doing this, and they explain their careers, real jobs, engagements, pregnancies, whatever it is. And when I'm like, yeah, I talk about movies and nonsense on the internet, they always kind of look at me like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And I just have to go like, it's dumb, but it's what I love to do. This is my thing. And I'm sure we'll continue to make fun of Disney adults anyway, because I make fun of myself for my bullshit. But hey, if Disney is your thing, I don't think anybody should feel ashamed about that. Everything is cringe to somebody at a different time, but joy only matters when it comes to you. And that's all from me. I've been SnarkyJay. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. For more SnarkyJay, be sure to check me out on Instagram. And if you'd like to support me, this channel, and my content creation, do check out and consider subscribing to my Patreon for exclusive photo shoot sets and cosplay content. I'll add links to all of those in the description below. And you know what? Let me know something cringe you enjoy and will admit to in the comments below.